jump into the individual constitutions themselves because you had some fun questions about it, and I know you want to hit on the Second Amendment stuff.
Well, I'll tell you what, let me get into the second A stuff, and we'll, because that gets specific into the constitutions.
And I've got all the I've got those first four constitutions pulled up anytime you want, right? Anytime you want me to.
Well, this one, I'll just tell you the first one is the Virginia Constitution, and
I
yeah,
got it. I'll pull
and
it up.
Section 13, I can read from it.
No, let the crowd see it. So I've got
Okay,
the Constitution up.
all right. Section 13,
I'll get there.
yes, you
Here we go.
will. And Section 13 says this, and think about if this is terminology you've heard before, that a well-regulated militia composed of the body of the people trained to arms is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. That standing armies in time of peace should be avoided as dangerous to liberty, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Well, straight off, well-regulated militia, regulated being put in good order, trained, equipped, disciplined. Uh, Militia being the people. George Mason saying it's all the people except a few political officials. And the purpose of the militia, composed of the people, as they say, proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. They're talking about keeping Virginia safe and free. Your thoughts?
100% agreed, and I actually think that this is the most perfect language of all the state constitutions I've ever read about why the right to bear arms matters. This one had actually said it the most perfectly. I've read all 50 state constitutions and obviously the US Constitution. This paragraph right here is actually the best one I've read.
Beautiful. So that's that one. This is to me very clear. It's got militia, it has state, it has arms. These are the three big words in our Second Amendment.
And the most important thing is under strict subordination to the civil power.
Hmm.
Don't have standing armies, which means, by the way, the FBI is completely unconstitutional.
You consider it a standing army.
100%. Standing police force, what's the difference? You can't have a national police force. Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
just no. All right, which one do you want to go to next?
Next is Constitution of Pennsylvania.
Oops, I don't have that one up here. Give me 1 second,
It's okay.
because that wasn't one of the original four.
No, no, no. I'm just because these are the ones that really have the second A wording in it.
Can't even, I just misspelled Pennsylvania. I can't believe that. Penn.
Speaking of Pennsylvania, you know where Sylvania comes from?
Uh,
Comes from the Latin word silva, that means uh, land of woods.
do you know where the Penn part comes from?
William Penn?
Yeah, and that family was giving a huge grant, just like it would happen in Maryland,
Right.
huge grant of territory and power.
Hmm.
All right, where do you want to go? Second Amendment,
Okay, Section 13.
once again.
Yeah.
Let me scroll down. A lot of these state constitutions started with a Bill of Rights or a Declaration of Independence type language. This is great reading, people. You really ought to spend the time. So 11, 12, 13. Here we go.
Okay.
Wait,
That the people have a right to bear arms.
wait. I'm not getting it. That's not section 13. So let me try this again.
This is Pennsylvania. I
Yeah,
have it. Well, okay, it's X 11113. So keep going down
well, I found
because
it there.
I see
There we go.
there's 13. right there.
All right, so different section. So I went through the Bill of Rights first. So here you go.
Uh,
We got what you
13.
want.
That the people have a right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state, and as standing armies in the time of peace are dangerous to liberty, they ought not to be kept up, and that the military should be kept under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Wow, does that seem a lot like Virginia?
Pretty
Yes.
close.
But what's interesting here is that here you now they don't have the militia, but you have the right to bear arms. Bear means to have on your possession, even under your coat. Arms means this comes from the Latin word arma, which means weapons. The people have this right. And what is their fear? Standing armies. Interesting.
Mhm. Because
Next.
they feared a totalitarian government. They feared tyranny.
Yeah.
And what year was the Pennsylvania written? I can check it real quick.
That is September 28, 1776.
So after the Declaration of Independence. But the point being, this was treason to write this. And they're getting ready to fight the Revolutionary War against what is essentially a tyrannical government, taxation without representation, um,
Most powerful country in the world.
most powerful empire in the world,
There you go.
and perhaps in history. I'm going back to Rome. You can juggle the two, but it's the same concept.
Well,
The audacity of these people to put their names on these documents
mhm,
committing treason against the crown. I mean,
absolutely.
their bravery.
Yeah.
Alan,
The
don't you do a some of your speaking engagements talk about some of the Washington spies?
I've read about them, but I haven't talked about them.
I'm just now, it's funny. I just now started going off topic. We just like a week or two ago, my in-laws, and again, I married into an amazing family. My mother and father-in-law are great historians. Um, their collection of things like cannons and stuff like that's just off the charts. And I've enjoyed. And they're part of the historical societies here in
Mm,
historical New Hampshire. So like again, my learning curve has been expedited. But they gave me the CD, whatever you call it, version of Washington Spies. It's a series you can get on Amazon Prime,
mm,
and it's really done well and just really funny. When I turn on my TV and put on YouTube, it bounces to my channel, random channels.
yeah.
The third public presentation I ever gave at the remember Cordy Williams, remember Dr. Cordy
Yeah,
Williams from
I do.
1776 Forever Free, because
Hmm.
Alan's given presentations there and so have I. The third presentation I ever gave, I mentioned for like 3 minutes Washington Spies,
Yeah.
and that pops up on our TV literally before we start watching this, and it's a great series and it's done well. And like a second we get off the air, I'm going to run downstairs and my wife will watch another, and I will watch another episode. But it's really good. So
I
I
think there's one woman involved who never actually officially got named.
Yeah, there's some interesting stories about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Benedict Arnold is probably the most fascinating part of that. But we digress. Let's go back on topic.
The
Benedict Benedict
so
Arnold may not have been such a bad guy after all.
well, he did leave the country on a British ship.
That's true. But why?
And, and well, it is said that the British spy master that turned him was a Major John Andre.
Hmm. That's in the
So,
show. That's in the show.
and I think he was going to open the doors to West Point.
But he did not,
Okay. But
from what I understand. Uh, Everything's up for interpretation. And the early parts of the war, he was absolutely the most effective general underneath Washington, without doubt. And part of why he turned is because there were a bunch of corrupt idiots in Washington's command staff, and Washington would not call them out because he didn't want the French, who we absolutely needed. We don't win the war without the French.
right.
want the French to see, you know, that our command structure was compromised,
Right.
and Benedict Arnold was such a stickler for honor that he could not. That's why they turned him, or how. All
Well,
right, back to
he is seen as a hero in England. Anyway, number three, Constitution of Maryland, November 11, 1776.
Maryland. One of my favorites. Hang on, let me find it.
25.
Do I have Maryland? I know I have Maryland up here. God dang it. I got New Hampshire, South Carolina. All right, let me find Maryland.
Okay.
It's one of my favorites because it's got some really colorful religious language. November 11th, 1776. That's the one.
Yep.
All right, what are you looking for?
25. XXV. This one is really short, and it just says that a well-regulated militia, oh, we see that again, is the proper and natural defense of a free government. Didn't say state, but once again, you see well-regulated and you see militia. It was there,
So a militia is the proper and natural defense of the government.
right?
That's
Of
a
a free government,
Yeah, it's a very interesting way of saying it.
right? Next one is North
Oh,
Carolina. Oh, go
real
ahead.
quick,
Yes,
while we're on the Maryland,
yes.
I may as well just point this out. If I just go into the search,
Hmm.
if you look up the term Christian, that it is largely every man, that is the duty of every man to worship God in such manner as he thinks most acceptable to him. All persons professing the Christian religion, blah blah blah, and they really emphasize this. It's important in Maryland because the license or whatever that the crown gave to the
Sure.
founders, the founder of Maryland. I forget the name of the family. I should know that by heart, because they were Catholic.
Mm,
And what happened is a lot of Protestants were moving into Maryland. So Maryland was a big point of the freedom of religion conversation. When you get to the Constitution, that we're not going to have a state religion, it's because of the Maryland conversation. Um, there were actually, Maryland also had the highest percentage of Jewish people in all of the colonies
wow.
at the time of the founding. Very small part of the population, but
Yeah.
when they talk about our Judeo-Christian values in the Constitution, Maryland is why probably the epicenter of why that happens. Um, we're not going to have religious discussion tonight, obviously,
No.
but yeah, the Judeo-Christian values, that's where the term came from. It came out of Maryland, and it's important because, look, I'm not a big fan of the Vatican by any stretch historically. I think they've done all kinds of shenanigans. But I know a ton of great Catholics, and I'm descended from a bunch of them. I'm German
Hmm.
Irish. What the hell? You know? Anyway, I thought that's important to point out. When the Maryland Constitution is very unique because of its emphasis, more than any other state constitution, on the religious part of it.
Beautiful.
Which one you want to go to next?
North Carolina,
Should have it up here. I got South Carolina. You want North?
North first.
All
Just
right, hang on. Isn't this a great website, Consource?
it is absolutely wonderful.
And you had never seen it until about a month ago when I brought it to your attention,
I
which is,
thank you again for that.
yes, well, that's why we work together, and that's why we're sharing it with you guys. Everybody watching here, you should be following these links and reading it for yourself.
All right, so we go to section 17. That the people have a right to bear arms. Have we heard this before?
Hmm.
For the defense of the state, and as standing armies in times of peace are dangerous to liberty, they ought not to be kept up, and that the military should be kept under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Where have we heard this before?
Pretty much everywhere we've looked the last 10 minutes.
Once again, they're thinking about the defense of the state. Note that state, it begins with a capital S, which they're emphasizing it. And the people have a right to bear arms. And they have that right because they have to protect the security of their free state. How's that?
And at the end, they emphasize once again, should be kept under strict control and subordination to and governed by the civil power.
Right.
They
Which
were,
mean which means the military is not control of the military. The civil power is.
yeah, which is the exact opposite of what the British Empire did, where the crown commanded the military and therefore the people, had no voice.
Right. Well, they
That's
didn't
what we,
they well, when you have the crown, you don't have a civil voice really.
by definition, I would think.
Yeah. All right. If you have time, find Georgia.
We have time. We have 20 minutes.
I know. In Georgia, Constitution was written in February of 1777.
So, real quick, historically, I understand Georgia was a very small state at the time. Virginia was by far the biggest state.
Huge. Yeah.
It had like 850,000 people. Georgia and South Carolina were small. They were tiny.
Okay.
Georgia's voice at the Constitutional Convention of 1787,
Yeah.
they didn't say a whole lot, but they were there.
Good.
So
Well,
we're doing what?
you're gonna go to 35 XXXV.
Let me get there.
That's an article.
We got XXX and XXXV.
There you go. 35. Every county in this state that has or hereafter may have 250 men and upwards liable to bear arms shall be formed into a battalion, and when they become too numerous for one battalion, they shall be formed into more by the bill of the legislature. And those counties that have a less number than 250 shall be formed into independent companies.
That's a little bit of North Korea right there. But that being said, that's a unique language.
Well, they're once again they're bringing the responsibility now specifically to the counties. And think about it. You might have a county that has less than 250 guys in it. I thought that was interesting to note.
No, it's actually a fascinating one. I hadn't read that before, so I'm glad you brought that up. It brings up a couple of interesting questions.
Yeah.
Well, so you look at Israel and the IDF. Every person in Israel has to join the IDF unless you're one of these, shall we say, um, fundamentalist
Hmm.
Jewish
Yeah.
organizations where they don't have to serve. These are the ones who are forming the quote unquote illegal homesteads right on the border of areas that what have you. Compulsory military um, service is
Two
an interesting,
years.
yeah, that's what they do in Israel. I mean, even the concept of the draft in the United States, that's we definitely saw in your lifetime.
Yes.
It was over. My father got drafted, had to fight in Vietnam, went to the Air Force, luckily, instead of being a foot soldier. Because I don't think he would have made it back from that, unlike too many others. I
I
don't like
was I was subject to the draft, but I had a very high number.
when did that end? Do you remember?
Not really. I do remember because I was subject to it in 71 when they had it in 71, 72. It was on TV when they, pulled the dates, and I wouldn't watch it. I just waited to hear about it.
Yeah,
And my birth date was in the 300s. I didn't worry about it.
my mother. Grew up on military bases.
Mm,
Her father was served in World War II, and then obviously my father was in the Air Force in, you know, Vietnam. By the time I was, 16, 17 years old, my mom had had enough of the military lifestyle, and she highly encouraged me not to go into the military. And I actually got recruited by the Air Force Academy to play baseball, but didn't go out of
okay.
respect. No, it's interesting, but compulsory military, which is what they're saying here, is we're fighting for individual liberty, and we're telling you you have to fight, and it's an interesting conversation.
Yeah. Because keep in mind that at this point, especially in 1777, the American Revolution is absolutely on. Uh, British troops are already in country. They've been in country. And this military force is coming to take their freedom. It's it, it's right there. It's in their face. You agree?
Did you ever watch the movie Last of the Mohicans?
I believe I did.
It's probably my favorite movie of all time. Daniel Day-Lewis is in
Yeah.
particular, and the soundtrack's off the charts. I work out to it all the time. No, and that really is it's inspiring music, and he plays a great role. But he has an interesting. It's during the French Canadian, the French
French and
American,
Indian.
yeah, which is literally a decade before the Revolutionary War. He says to the British guy, do what you shall. I'm going to blow this quote, but I'll get the general gist. Do what you want with your own scalp. Don't tell us what to do with ours. And that's the American Revolutionary spirit that was there. And I hate this article from wherever we are. We're in North Carolina. I don't like the way this paragraph is written. Compulsory military.
Yeah,
I've got a problem with that. That's not individual liberty.
right.
Where else you want to go?
Well, last one I think we'll have time for is New York,
All right, let's go to New York.
and it's XL, so it'd be 30.
Oops, it's going to take a while. Constitution of New York, 1777. We got it.
April 20.
Yep, I got it. And where are we going?
XL.
Alan knows his Latin numerals.
I wrote them down. I'll begin because this is a pretty long one.
What is this in ID? The assembly shall consist of, they list the counties of every single one.
Yeah,
All right.
wow. Pretty long document.
Well, it's funny is these guys are doing this stuff all by feather pen. All right, here we have XL.
That's XI.
Okay.
That's, yeah, we're looking at, keep going. Keep going. There. No, keep going. No, keep going. Yep. One more. There. No, that's XX. So, yeah, keep going. We got to get to,
There's a quicker way of doing this. I can just go Control F, ARMS. Oops.
it's going to be after the XX series.
There
Well,
it
I'll
is.
start reading it because it's long. You'll find it because
Yeah,
XL
I got
really
it.
is
I
30.
got, I got it.
Okay. And whereas it is of the utmost importance to the safety of every state that it should always be in a condition of defense, and it is the duty of every man who enjoys the protection of society to be prepared and willing to defend it. This convention, therefore, in the name and by the authority of the good people of this state, doth ordain, determine, and declare that the militia of this state at all times hereafter, as well as in peace as in war, shall be armed and disciplined and in readiness for service. Goes on that all such of the inhabitants of the state, being of the people called Quakers, as from scruples of conscience may be adverse to the bearing of arms, be therefore excused by the legislature, and do pay to the state such sum of money in lieu of their personal service as the same way in the judgment of the legislature be worth, and that a proper magazine of warlike stores, proportionate to the number of inhabitants be forever hereafter at the expense of this state by the acts of this legislature established, maintained, and continued in every county in this state. They wanted to be prepared. Huh?
Yeah, but just imagine New York being the most long-winded of all the states.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. And
Do some,
Hamilton's only been there for like 3 years at a time, so you can't even blame it on him.
no. Any other thoughts?
No, I just think
Do you
to
think
sum
that
it up,
helped talking about them?
what's that?
Did you think it helped talking about them?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's an important conversation that these states understood that the right to bear arms, that's how you defend your state against a tyrannical government or oppressive forces beyond that. But I think it segues into the bigger conversation we've been having for God, the several years you and I have been doing shows. The states had their own bills of rights,
Hmm.
and when they formed the Constitution, they weren't replacing their own bills of rights. They were putting limits on this new government that they were trying to create. So when people say, look, I know I get pushback on this all the time because I'm a big believer in gun rights, and I know Alan is as well. You know, when you say the Second Amendment is absolute, you're correct, but you have to understand it's absolute towards the federal government, not to the states. They make their own gun laws. The Second Amendment and the entire Bill of Rights applies to the federal government. It says Congress shall make no laws. So every single federal gun law is unconstitutional by definition. Gun registry, unconstitutional. Whatever they say about your caliber, your all of that is unconstitutional. But state gun laws were in place before the Constitution, and every state that joined the Constitution, joined the Union after the Constitution, had their own state Bill of Rights that had the exact, very similar language to what we've been reading to you. And the reason for that is because the Bill of Rights does not apply to the states. The states have their own bills of rights. And if you don't like your gun rights in your state,
Change them.
work work to change them or move.
Right. The, you know, I'm glad you brought that up
People
because
hate that. People hate that. I mean, people that are absolutely my allies that agree with me on 99% of it. There are people here that are pissed off to hear that.
why?
They that because they don't understand federalism. And
Well,
that's why it's such an important topic. They want to say, oh, no, the Second Amendment shall not infringe. All gun rights are illegal or unconstitutional. And unfortunately, they're only half right. Every federal gun law is unconstitutional, agreed. But your states do have those rights, and that the 10th Amendment makes it crystal clear.
I really like the 10th
It's the
because
most it's the most important thing. And
the, the go ahead.
oh, Madison said the Bill of Rights was absolutely unnecessary because if you understand the enumeration doctrine, if we didn't give the federal government the ability to do it, they can't.
I understand that point. However, I do like the first 10 because it happened shortly after the ratification. And it really pinpoints specific things, which makes it very easy to understand. The 10th, I like, excuse me, which I'll read. The power is not delegated to the United States, meaning the federal government, by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it, being the Constitution, to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. The power is not delegated to, it's telling the reader that the Constitution was written to create the federal government, and the federal government was granted certain powers, duties, whatever, and that's it, nothing more. But in case you didn't get that idea by reading the Constitution, we'll give you the 10th Amendment.
Oops.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it absolutely does.
And the thing about the second A is that the federal government is a creation of the Constitution, and the Second Amendment, like the others, is a specific instruction to the federal government that when you get to the end, shall not be infringed. Is there anything vague about shall not? No.
Yeah, no, not at all.
So
So
we,
when you talk about the 10th Amendment, I think people don't talk enough about the Ninth Amendment.
yes, that's
The enumeration of the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And this is what Madison was saying: is if you enumerate, the first seven rights, quote unquote, that the Bill of Rights talks about,
mhm.
he wanted to make it crystal clear that just because we didn't name a certain right, you still have them. They're your God-given natural rights, period. And this Constitution is not going to give a government the right to take it away unless we specifically enumerated it, which they did not.
Right.
That's important. And
Very,
all the government has done for the last 200 and almost 50 years is conspire to take away every single one of these God-given natural rights. So we've got a problem and it needs to be fixed.
well, Brady, thank you absolutely for being here. Just before we get to the end, I want to give you adequate time to promote yourself, please.
Find me on Twitter/X at war_hamster1776. Most of my video stuff you can find on my Rumble channel, War Space Hamster. A lot of constitutional stuff. Sometimes Alan's on there, sometimes Doug's on there, sometimes Colonel Roxanne Tanner Watkins is on there, and sometimes I do some grassroots stuff with some really interesting people around the country. But please come check it out, and I'll try not to go on too many more rants.
No, 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 no. Don't do, don't do.